Hi, I'm Nicole Havlicek with PrimeTime Pickleball, and today we're going to show you the 3 key dinks that you need in your pickleball arsenal so that you can control the court and take charge of the point. Here we're going to show you how to do that with a ball machine, specifically the Slingerbag, but you can also do it with a partner. Like many other sports, pickleball is a ground war. The team that spends the most time closer up in the court as compared to the other team is stacking the odds in their favor to ultimately come away with the win. From up here, you can be the most punishing with high balls since you can hit down into your opponent's court, and it's also very hard for the other team to get the ball down low on you because they have to be sure to clear the net, and they have a very small window to hit into that will accomplish forcing you into low contact points while they also have to stay above the net. At times I see players successfully get up to the non-volley zone line only to start drifting back when they let a shot come in like this. It bounces and they hit it after the bounce. They let that shot push them back, and often they end up staying there. And there's a much better option with which you can maintain your position at the non-volley zone line: the reach-in dink volley, typically simply called the dink volley. It's a very important shot to master if you hope to be a complete player. To work this shot with the Slingerbag, you'll want to set it about this far back with the target of just inside the non-volley zone line. The settings I have are this. Try these and then tweak as needed. You will have 3 choices to make with your shot: a dink volley, which is to contact out of the air and no bounce; a dink half volley, which is when you hit the ball immediately after the bounce while the ball is still headed to its peak. Or you can step back and contact closer to the peak of the ball after the bounce or at the peak after the bounce. When you step back to do this, you should then immediately come back up to the line to maintain your ground. Again, do not give in to letting yourself get pushed back and stay there. Reclaim your ground. Since you are dinking back, or should be, there's time to scoot back in. If their shot is hit well and is relatively low crossing the net, then usually your best option is the dink volley. If you reached in for a dink volley and then you see that you can't reach it out of the air, then you quickly adjust to a half volley. If you missed your chance on both the dink volley and the half volley, then you have to react and defend with the step back dink. So you are going to need all 3 of these dinks. Primarily your goal is to hit the dink volley, but like I said, you need them all. So in this drill, while we're training with the bag, you're going to be deciding when it's best to use all 3. So that's part of the training, is your decision-making process on when to hit which. And that's part of the things you have to train. Did you make the best choice on each and every shot? And if not, then adjust. And then also, when you did make the choice, did you hit that shot well? And then work on adjustments on your technique as well. So you're really training your decision making as well as how well you hit the shot. Okay, so let's get to work on the dink volley. The key to hitting this shot successfully is staying as tight to the line as possible and getting as low as you need to. I see many players that are standing too upright, and that's preventing you from hitting a lot of dink volleys. Sometimes you really have to reach in and go get it, and getting low is key to help you with that. Bend at the knees, not at the waist. Smart opponents will be aiming near your feet to press you into making a decision between letting it bounce or taking it out of the air. In either case, getting low will benefit you and help you hit a better shot. You'll also be able to reach more since many of those contacts are going to be right before the ball hits the ground, since it's landing that short. Reach in, but only as far as you can reasonably reach out and make contact with your arm straight and your paddle laid back. Don't reach with your paddle. You can only really reach to the extent that your arm allows. The paddle face has to point where you want the ball to go, so you need to mostly have it laid back to accommodate for this. If you start reaching with your paddle extended, then the ball will start going all kinds of places that you don't want it to go. There's not a whole lot of motion to the technique on these 3 dinks. Less is more when you're hitting a push dink like these. You want to minimize the action in your joint hinges that you're using. Here on the forehand reach-in dink volley, your wrist will be the most laid back so you can have that paddle face pointed towards the other side of the court as you reach forward to go and get it. Your contact point will be quite far in front since you're really reaching out there to go and get it. Due to this, your elbow will be nearly straight or only have a very slight bend in it. Your wrist and elbow will be set and only the shoulder moves during the swing. When you opt for the half volley, your contact point will be later and you'll have your wrist straighter in order to accommodate that later contact so that you can still have the paddle face pointed forward towards the other side of the court towards your opponents. Your elbow will likely need to have some bend in it since the shot is closer to you now on the half volley. Try not to let it crowd you though. On the step back forehand dink, you'll drop your dominant side foot back to create some space. This contact will also be later, like on the half volley. Again, you'll have your wrist straighter in order to accommodate the later contact and still have that paddle face pointed over towards the other side of the court where you want to hit the ball. When hitting a half volley dink or step back dink on the forehand side, notice how I incorporate a slight elbow movement into the swing. This adjustment becomes necessary during the late contact situations, especially when your shoulder movement is restricted. The elbow bend aids in pushing the ball over the net effectively in such scenarios. Although it can be easier from a timing perspective to use the step back dink because you let the ball peak, which is generally easier to time than taking a ball on the rise, you'll want to master the half volley, and here's why. If you're constantly dropping back like this to take any dink that you can't reach out of the air as a volley dink, then it's going to be more exhausting as it requires a lot of movement to be stepping back every time to get this dink. The half volley is much more efficient for you since you're not needing to take that extra step every time. There's a lot less motion, and it takes time away from your opponent because you're getting the shot back to them faster. A lot remains the same for dink technique on the backhand side as far as minimal motion and ideally striving to use mainly the shoulder for the small pushing swing motion. Biomechanically, the elbow can't help you much on this side for late contacts as it can on the forehands. Key differences are, of course, that your knuckles are leading the shot on the backhand side, and when you reach across your body for any of the three dinks, whether the contact be in front or later, your wrist will be in a similar position for all three and have very little bend in each case on a typical push dink. When you step back, you'll do that with the non-dominant leg on the backhand side. You'll really want to strive not to let the contact point get too late on your backhand side. On the forehand side, you can break your wrist forward at the last minute and help bail yourself out of this tough position. The biomechanics on the backhand are not as forgiving if the contact gets too late on you. It's not impossible, but it requires a higher level of skill to pull it off. Hit to every direction of the court from both the even and odd sides, and be sure to do it using your forehand and then also your backhand from both the even and the odd side. Once you get comfortable doing this with a standard push dink like these, you can also work on adding more topspin and also some underspin to these so that your opponent doesn't get too comfortable seeing only one type of dink from you. You need to get very comfortable being in long dink exchanges to achieve the highest level of play you're capable of. It's going to require a lot of consistency, variety, and patience. You can do it. All right, get out there and work those dink volleys. You can certainly train this with a partner, but I love using a ball machine, specifically my Slingerbag. See the description for more details about the Slingerbag.